Hello, I am your host, Kathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV, so please consult your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. All right, so we've got Paige back again for part 2 of once she had a great year of 2021, like you heard from our last podcast. What happened then? Was she healed? Was it gone? What happened to her multiple sclerosis? So Paige, thank you so much for coming back to let us know. Was MS gone in 2021 or did anything come back? Did you feel great? Did you relapse? How did life go after that amazing year? How was it for you after that? And thank you for coming back to help us end this, because I couldn't end it like that. So how was it for you?
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. By the end of 2021, I was convinced MS was gone.
Yeah.
And I thought,
wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah. You know,
Gone.
and in all reality, I could have bottled a supplement or something and sold it and said, hey, this cured my MS. But, you know, because I had a 4-year gap, you know,
Right.
which is very common. I didn't know that was common. I thought, you know, that relapses happen more frequently.
Right.
But anyway.
And also there's the benign one too, you know, where that's like,
yeah, exactly.
I want that.
Yeah.
Where do I sign up for that one?
I just figured it's done, you know, it's gone. I mean, I was super healthy. I was super active, and I figured, okay, maybe my lifestyle is keeping it at bay. So I just continue to do what I was doing. 2022 rolls around and we're off to a strong start. And my confidence level was so high, I had signed up for 2 marathons in 2022.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah, right. Now, also ending 2021, I got COVID.
Okay.
And then into 2022, January 2022, it took about a month to recover from that. And the only reason why I throw that in there is because I had my second relapse a few months after I got COVID. Yeah. And so my thinking is COVID ramped up my immune system again and sent it into overdrive.
Yeah.
And so recovered from COVID. And then in March, was it March? It's either March or April, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. I developed a numb spot about that big, just below my breast. And again, it was just numb. And so I ignored it. And a few days later, it had spread around my entire torso. And my thinking was, no, I knew what it was. So I ignored it. I'm like, no.
We are too similar. We could never hang out. We'd be like ignoring every symptom together.
Oh, I live in denial.
Yes, me too.
But it was numb. After about a week or so, it started spasming and getting really tight, giving me the MS hug, and it was making it hard to breathe. And it did scare me. However, I knew what it was because I had read about what the MS hug was. But I was out running one day. I was out running one day, and it started getting tight. And because I was running, I was already kind of breathing a little bit heavy. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't get the air in. So it caused me to have a little bit of a panic attack because I all of a sudden could not get air.
Right.
And so I stopped and just kind of relaxed for a little bit to just get my heart rate down and my breathing under control. And it did go away. temporarily anyway.
Right.
So I start running again, and
Of course you
got
did.
probably another 2 or 3 miles, and it started
Right.
spasming and getting really tight again. And I started panicking again because
Yeah.
it was even tighter that time. And that's when I just remember that moment so well, because that's when I thought, shoot, I'm gonna have to go to the doctor about this. And sure enough, I went to the doctor. They did the MRI, and they found
Mhm.
2 lesions on my T6. So,
I'm
and
so
was
sorry.
then officially diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Well, it's nice that they officially diagnosed you finally.
Yeah. And this
Gosh.
happened 2 weeks before I was supposed to run a half marathon. So I
Oh,
had to
okay.
cancel that race. So that was race number 1 I had to cancel in 2022.
Okay. Now, did you end up doing any of more, or were you like, okay, this is done? Did you do
Well,
more, any of them?
no.
Okay.
I had 2 marathons scheduled, and I think 4 half marathons scheduled in 2022. I did not run any of them,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, I had to cancel all of mine, and it was very frustrating and very different to try to take a look at what life would be like. Because that was my favorite thing. It was my out. It was my time to, get out my frustrations. I felt like me. I just felt like this was my time to just be me and just to get out. And I loved it. I fell in love with
Yeah.
it. So what was when you knew you couldn't run anymore, what did you do? How did you get out that energy that we get that high off of when we exercise?
Well, after the relapse that made my leg go numb, um, even after when the numbness started going away, I still had residual weakness, but I did still try to run. But just started realizing very quickly that if I pushed it at all, my leg would just start collapsing. It would just randomly give out underneath me.
Yeah.
And I tried and tried
Yes.
and
I
tried
am sure
and
you did.
tried and tried. And
Well,
when I
Paige, I'll
finally,
tell you, make you feel better. I did a race and it took them taking me, like it started kindly moving me to the side of the runners because I kept falling. And then they finally like kindly ushered me off. And I was so mad at them. I was like, stop doing that to me. And they're like, ma'am, you're falling in front, like you're tripping the other runners. I'm like, no, I'm not. And they were like, I was like, this is the most humiliating time. But they finally had to bring me off. And it was the worst, but it was really my Italian pride, just not, I needed to get off. I needed to stop, and I wouldn't. And I would have been willing to fall 20 more times just to get to the finish line instead of just getting off, just stepping off. And I just couldn't. And so I get you. And I think people that are that determined and that big of, that high of determination and that athletic, and it's just in us to finish and to finish first and to be the best.
yeah,
And so it's difficult to admit that this part is done.
and when it is just ingrained into who you are, you will do anything to hang on to it. And I
Yeah.
did. And it finally got to a point where I started injuring myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I finally had to really decide, is it worth the injury? Is it worth the potential of me messing up my knee or messing up my ankle or anything like that, or landing on my hip, who knows,
Yes.
because yeah. But I knew I had to replace it with something. And I also knew I can't just give up on being active.
Right.
I have to have something. And so I tried doing the gym thing and doing cycling and everything. But the other problem I was running into is the dizziness. My dizziness has always been an issue too. And if my leg wasn't collapsing underneath me, then I was getting dizzy and was a fall risk that
When you
way
say
too.
dizzy, was it a lot of like vertigo dizzy?
Not vertigo,
Okay.
just the unsteadiness,
Yeah.
just the drunk without the buzz
Yes.
feeling.
Right. Like if I'm gonna be this like walking unstable, at least let me have a little fun with it. But
Yeah,
it's not. You're just like
exactly.
stumbling all over. Yes.
Exactly. So, and but trying to do the gym and just still dealing with this dizzy, this drunk buzzless feeling.
Yeah.
um I could be consistent for like maybe 2-3 weeks, but then
Uh,
it would wreck me. I would all of a sudden I'd be tired all the time and fatigued and would have to take a week or two of a break just to recover. I'm like, okay, this isn't working either. So I saw Sam. I forget her handle on TikTok, but
yeah,
she's
I
a
know what you're
life
talking
coach.
about. Yeah.
She did a video that talked about doing 5 to 10 minute bursts of exercising throughout
Yeah.
the day. And when I watched her video about that, I'm like, that is a good idea. I like that idea. And so I just got a couple of 12-pound dumbbells at work,
Yeah.
and I started doing just 5-10 minute bursts. I started with just 2 or 3 times a day. Now I'm up to about 5 times a day.
That's
Just
great.
taking, and sometimes it's not even 5 minutes.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a rep of
Yeah.
weightlifting, and then take a break for a little bit, and then do another rep, take a break, do
Yeah.
another rep. It's just doing, little reps just
Absolutely.
all throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I have been able to stay consistent with that, and I
Hmm.
can mitigate the dizziness. I can
Yes.
mitigate that ice pick headache that'll initiate if I
Yes.
push myself too hard. I can mitigate my leg giving out on me because
Yes.
I'm not pushing myself. I'm not stressing my body out to the point where things go haywire.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and so ever since, I've just been a huge promoter of that. Is
Yeah.
just
And I
five ten
love that you do
minutes.
that. And that's so what I love because, you know, leaving my gym and, and letting it go was so difficult because for me, working out and doing the studio gym and really designing it, even though I knew that, continuing to do that high intensity for me wouldn't work long term for me to do it. But I loved building it and watching the changes. But it was also making it so I couldn't get to my autoimmune clients. And so when COVID happened, it allowed me the time to do that. And in doing that, I gave the gym up. And it has been so rewarding to be able to work with our MS community because it is so different and to teach a way to move without thinking you got to go into the gym, knock it out, and know it's totally different. And if we can do, 20 minutes of something great, but listen, I don't think anybody listens to their body more than we can listen to our body. We know every change, everything that's going on. So if that feels too much, listen and let's stop and let's do something else. Or some days, people will come onto Zoom and let's just do some diaphragmatic breathing first because you're coming in and I can tell you're here. Let's bring it down first before we start anything. So it's a very different kind of exercising than what we're brought up, doing. And especially if you're really athletic. And it's that, we have to grieve that several times that we can't do what we used to do. But there's a whole world of things that we can explore. And I think that's exciting. And to watch faces of people like there is, and I can do this now. and it's different, but I feel good after. I don't feel like I'm going to pass out. I don't feel like, well, that's that, and I won't be able to do anything today. Yeah, you'll need to take a rest, and that's okay, because that's what we should do. But it shouldn't be something that taxes you to the point where you're unavailable the rest of the day.
Right.
And with MS, there's going to be days like that. It may be a day you exercised or a day you didn't. It's just MS, and that's how it is. So that is a huge jump for you to make that decision on your own, that this is how it's going to look. I'm going to start doing this for me instead of what I've been trained and done my whole life. So how do you feel now? And is there ever sparks of you that think, maybe I'll be able to go back to that? I'm like, there's no way you don't think that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
You and I, we think a lot alike. So
I still got that marathon in New York that's in my brain. I'm like, yeah. So how do you deal with that? How do you shut that voice up?
Well, I will admit, last weekend, I did go out and do a very gentle 2-mile run.
Uh-huh.
And it felt great, but I know myself well enough that I can't do that very often,
Right.
because I know what the end result's going to be.
Yeah.
I know I'm just going to end up pushing it. Like, maybe I can do that just a little bit faster. Oh, maybe I can go just a little bit farther.
Yeah.
But it still felt good.
Yeah.
But it is also a good reminder at the same time. Because sure enough, when I got home, I could feel that weakness flaring up in my leg.
Because I'll start to do the flop. What they would call me is flipper, because you could hear me, my foot start to drop. I'm like, hey, they're like, but that's all you could hear when it was done, when my foot was just done. And I was like, I know I need to just slow down. I know at some point. So when I do have those like good, like 2-mile runs, it's the same thing. I'm like, all right, that was good. But when I get home, so it's like, okay, that was it. And now go back to the stuff you did. You got that out of your system. So done. So it is, I think it's always, I always tell clients, and we're doing like the women's support group, that it's not a one and done grieving. It's grieving, as we go through this, there's going to be things that we grieve through this whole process. And I think that I love the honesty about you, that you are very honest about the things that you're grieving. This is a huge part of your life. And it's something that, some people will look at us like we're just nuts, and that's okay, because we know that we are a little bit, but it's something that is really important to us and was a big part of our lives. And I think that tension between that is a good thing. I think if we gave it up completely, it changes who we are. And I believe it makes us it gives us less ability to really be with the people that are like us, and less empathy to be able to relate to those who are coming into this disease newly and are struggling with what we've already had to, and are like, what does this mean? Now I'm falling and falling. And how does it look, a year or two from now? Will I be able to exercise, and how? So I think that, when you go on TikTok and you share the stuff that you're doing, I love that, because it gives so much hope for people that are so strong and athletic, that there's life after this, and there's a good life. And it doesn't mean that everything's done and over. It doesn't also mean that things are going to be a piece of cake, but it just means that there's life and friendships and good things, but it will be your battle, and you'll, fight it how you choose to, but it doesn't have to be alone. And there's people on TikTok that are there to be your support. So tell me, like, some of your favorite things that you found on TikTok.
Some of my favorite things I found on TikTok. Like as far as the community or just in
Yeah, as far
general?
as the community and yeah, just the community or any things that you found that you've been like sold on. Like this is a great community. This is what a great topic, what a great like any of the lives or anything that you've participated in that you've been like, this is wonderful.
Well, let me just start by kind of sharing why I decided to start doing TikToks about this. Um, because in 2018, I had no one. I didn't have a support group in 2018, and the ones I was finding were just depressing.
Yeah.
So, and in 2022, when I had those two relapses, I knew I needed to find something. I needed an
Yeah.
outlet. I needed something to cope. Because if anything, I learned in 2018 when I spiraled down to that severe depression, I knew I
Mhm.
did not want to go back there.
Yeah.
So, and I learned from counseling, that I needed to find an outlet. I needed to find a support system. And so I knew that was important. So I started trying to seek out a support group, and again was just falling short, they were depressing. I'm
Yes.
just like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And I had I wasn't posting anything on TikTok, but
Uh,
I enjoyed, I'd enjoy the scrolling. I enjoy TikTok a lot. And but I just decided, the first I'm like, okay, I need to get things out. I need to start vocalizing things.
yeah.
And so I'd start recording myself, just vocalizing how I was feeling and what I was dealing with that particular day. I wasn't posting anything, I was just saving them.
Mhm.
And I just, and then I just decided, I wonder if there's a community on TikTok, if there's other people on TikTok that deal with MS. And so I started seeking out a few people, and I was finding people that did have MS, but there wasn't really a whole lot of people that were dedicating their platform to MS itself. I did find
Okay.
Sam. Sam was
Uh-huh.
one of them. Um, but I really didn't find very many. And so I just kind of, that's when I finally just kind of decided, you know what? I've studied the hell out of this disease. And I have been through, I have experience with this. And I'm like, maybe I can help people. Because if anything,
Yeah.
I sure wish I would have had something in 2018, but something that is just more of a support and a
Right.
validation, maybe even humor
Right.
too, because I humor's a big part of my life.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
goofball. I am a
Yeah.
goofball in real life. So
Right. You've got to have
um,
that. How do you get through this without humor?
exactly,
I don't know.
exactly. So that's when I just started posting TikToks and decided, okay, I'm going to dedicate my platform. I wasn't really expecting it to do anything. I've got a couple hundred followers and we all became really good friends.
Uh-huh.
There's a little circle of us, but then that circle started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then more and more people were doing the same thing. And then
Yeah.
next thing you know, we have all of these people
Yes.
on the platform that are sharing their story and giving the experience. And it's mind blowing what
Yeah.
it has turned into in
Yeah.
less than a year.
I mean,
Um,
it is insane to me because when I looked at it first, when someone tried to get me on, that was like 2017. And I was like, eh. And then now go looking at it, I'm like, holy cow. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's so exciting to have that, to be able to look at TikTok and to be able to have something else, like you said, that's inspiring, that's informative, that's funny, and that you got this whole community. And it's so uplifting and it's so good because we need that. We need each other
yeah,
and we need a spot to go. That's when you feel alone or you feel depressed, that you can go on and be like, here's my group. Here's the people that know what I'm going through. And it's so crucial. And I love it. I love that you were bold enough to start that up and be like, well, I don't see anything, but I can start this. Why not me? I can do it. I love that, because there's so many that are not bold enough to do that. And you did it. So you started that. And then when you got onto TikTok, that you made some really good friends, and like Tasha's one of them. And I know we're naming names that people are like, who? Well, then get on TikTok and find out who. So that's your challenge. Really, really good people. I mean, I've met just some really good people that I in the day am curious, like, are they okay? How are they doing? And the support I love. If one person is not doing well, I mean, we know quick. I love that. It's like the Live at 5 news report. Someone's not doing well. And I really love that part too, that we get to find out, is if someone needs help, if someone is hurting. And I really like the support that is, that we see in that as well. And so I just really appreciate that. And so I guess I want to make sure that I have, because you really gave some amazing answers that I really appreciate and love. What do you find as far as being a woman? What do you feel, how do you think it's affected you socially? Having multiple sclerosis.
How did I answer that?
Do you want me to read your answer?
Yeah.
Okay. So how has it affected you as a woman? You put, it has made me become more aware of inequality in the medical world when it comes to women.
Okay.
You want to keep going?
Okay. I remember now.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, because again, I didn't really deal with doctors, but I've learned how much women are gaslit basically by doctors. I mean, I think both men and women experience that medical bias. I think women experience it more though. And witnessing it firsthand for myself, and then just hearing other people's stories.
Yeah.
And not even seeing videos that are even related to MS, but just medical. I remember watching a video about a nurse who I don't even know what she posted, but she's basically bringing up the how women are medically gaslit.
Yeah.
And the comments were just flooded with women telling their story, or even comparing female doctors to male doctors. Yes. But I was not aware of how much of a problem that is.
Well, I think we're not, if you've not been sick, and this is our first go around. I mean, I've had it for over 20 years, but I had one main neurologist who was amazing. And then after he passed, the gaslighting started immediately. And the more I know, and the more that I have to, the more knowledge I have, and the more that I advocate for myself, the more nasty they are. And when I mean, it's like, wow, the more that I had to, I was even on the medication I was, when all, hit the fan. And it just happened to be right like the day before everything shut down with COVID. And my MS just took a big turn, and I had to get off my medication, and there wasn't a doctor in sight. They were like, MS what? We're about COVID now. So whatever you got going on, that takes a way back seat. And I know a lot of people experience that. So once we could, I was everywhere, Cleveland Clinic, all over. And every doctor was like, what do you need? And well, duh, you're going to have to go on this one. You're gonna have to go on this. And I'm like, but I don't want to. So help me understand. And it was like, I was all of a sudden if I asked questions, I was this like pain in the rear end. And one doctor even said, and I mean, they were like important questions. And he just said, maybe you're not the right patient for this place. And I was like, okay. It was just unbelievable. Like how, if as a female, I felt like, are you going to now call me hysterical? And we're in the 30s, or what's going to happen next? But it has been a big eye opener and really helped me with the podcast and stuff with, really with the whole patient's rights and our patients' voices, because I have been stunned at how much worse it's even gotten with women trying to advocate for themselves and how we're just really shut down.
Yep. I recently went through that. So
yes, I remember you sharing that. So yeah, I do. When you put that down, I was like, you are right. Absolutely. And I do think it's going to have to be, as we continue to come together, I think we are growing that way. And the less that we attack each other, the stronger our message is that, that we deserve a voice, and you do not ever talk to us that way. We don't accept it, and it will stop. And so I think the louder our voices become, not in an assaulting way, but in an assertive way, an intelligent way, then I think we will be heard. So that is what I believe is true. So
I agree.
I think.
I agree.
So, and we'll start the march. So I like it. So Paige, as we end, I want to ask you if you could say one thing and you could leave us with a message. And if you had an opportunity speaking in front of people and you had one message to give, to leave, what would that be?
If I had one message to give, multiple sclerosis is certainly not the end of the world. It's definitely going to rock your world. But just know that there are resources out there. There are people out there that are going through the same thing that you are. We've got, whether you choose to join a community on TikTok or Facebook or anywhere, there is people out there that are going through the same thing you are. Even though you do feel alone, we all felt alone. When I realized that there's other people out there that were experiencing the same things that I was, it was so validating. And these communities are there to help and to support. And with multiple sclerosis, you never know what you're going to get. You may make a full recovery from your relapse, and you may not need that support group for a while. But having a support group for if and when that next relapse happens, you know where to go, you know where to find that support. And the community that we have on TikTok, I relate it to like filling a bathtub with no plug, because we always have new people coming into the community, but we also have people that are always leaving the community too, for a variety of reasons. I kind of hope that one of the reasons is because they've recovered and they have became stable again, and they're ready to get on with their life.
Right.
If that's the case, then I am 100% happy with that.
For sure.
It is very comforting to know that our community plays a role in helping people become stable again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Paige. Thank you. And so if someone wants to find you on TikTok, what is your handle? How can they find you?
You can find me at MS Fighter 101.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that'll be on the bottom of the show notes too, when it comes out.
Okay.
So for sure. So you hold on while I say bye to our listeners. So thank you so much, Paige, for being on Move It or Lose It podcast. I really appreciate all that you shared. And so if you've never tried TikTok, I encourage you to try it. Like I said, I was very skeptical about doing this again. I did not want to go on TikTok, but I'm so grateful I did. And this is now the second person I brought on to Move It or Lose It. And I have some more that I'm going to be bringing on. So I hope you enjoyed this and got a lot out of it. So give me your feedback and some of the things that you want to talk about when it comes to multiple sclerosis. So thanks again. And I can't wait to see you guys soon. So talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us every Tuesday and also wherever you like your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that. And we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together. Have a great day.